see rock and roll as youth culture, and when youth culture becomes monopolized by big business, what are the youth to do? Do you have any idea? I think we should destroy the bogus capitalist process that is destroying youth culture.
Hi, it's Kendrick from Providence Tarot. You know, I feel like right now and today, it feels as though I should do a daily dose, right? Because I need to get outside. It's really cold, and it's about to snow in 2 days or so, for 2 days, I think. And it's really nice outside right now, so this is kind of like the calm before the winter storm, I guess. So I kind of want to go out and just be outside and get some fresh air and shit like that. I'm gonna turn the music down just a little bit. How was your Leo full moon? Mine was interesting because it felt very much like retrograde was starting, you know? And Mercury is exalted in Aquarius, and in Leo, it's in its fall. Or Saturn would be debilitated, right? But we do have the Aquarius new moon coming up, I believe. And if you know the planetary placements in the tarot, that is the Seven of Swords. You know, and that is the emotional attachments that you have to your relationships and the habits that you have in nurturing relationships or friendships or trying to satisfy something that can't be satisfied, right? Or trying to change something that can't be changed. There's a futility to it in some way, shape, or form. And now we're realizing where things may be futile, where things might be trivial, and where things may be, you know, a little bit of nonsense here and there that doesn't necessarily deserve the attention that we give it, the emotional attention that we give it, you know, and the consideration that we give some of the thoughts that we have that are really just delusions in our mind. So I feel like this season we have to sift through what isn't and realize what is and see how we can attach ourselves to that, so as we continue to move forward, we heal from the things and we start to forgive processes, right? Not just people and not just circumstances, but, you know, we have to kind of like forgive the reasonings, right? Okay? And we're reckoning with like the karmic connections that we have to a situation and not necessarily to the people who may be the catalyst. And they're not, or might be, you know, they may or may not be the catalyst, or they could be people, you know, that might just have been attached to certain lessons that we had to learn, and we can't blame the lesson on the person. You know what I mean? You take the lesson, right? Take the lesson, right? Are you like being like, no, that's not, I don't. Take the lesson, right? And if somebody was there to help you learn that lesson inadvertently, you know, what is it? Collateral damage. What is the other one? Like innocent bystander, that type of shit. You know, we're all just like balls of energy running around and connecting and disconnecting. Right? Mercury. Retrograde. Mercury exalted in Aquarius. Mercury wants to have new experiences. So it's time for you to have a new experience in your life, because you don't want to get physically complacent. You don't want to get mentally complacent, right? And you definitely don't want to get emotionally complacent. I think I just did that extra, but maybe it needed to happen so that this card could fall out. I'm going to leave it, right? Actually, I'm going to flip it over now. Ah, it's the Strength card. You know, I don't read it if it like falls down, and I pick it up and I was like, if it's reversed or not, it's upright. So this is the Strength card. You know, These are you and your fears. Don't let your fears drive you to your, lower vibrational energy, your impulses, the predations that you may have, or the things that you might have an emotional, attachment to that actually can be changed. You know what I mean? It's like you are the master of your own energy, right? And you are competing with the master and the beast within, and this is the beast that lives inside of you. You know what I mean? The nature of the beast, right? 8, number 8, right? We're dealing with that. I'm gonna put it back in. So the strength card, courage, right? That's what we're talking about. That courageous energy. It's Leo, the full moon. The sun rules that. The sun is ruling the full moon in Leo, and the sun is in Aquarius. You know what I mean? So the star card is also at play here, okay? Can you control your behavior, right? Can you focus on your behavior? Do you have the courage, the will, and the discernment, right? To take a look at how you may be, trying to force something that should be occurring naturally for some of you. And then for others of you, it's kind of like realizing where you have more control and realizing where you might have the upper hand, or realizing where you might be, at an advantage, but not using the advantage to, cut at the person's or anyone's weaknesses. We're not trying to do that, All right, so I think, what did I do? No, I didn't. I'm gonna cut it. Definitely. Just like that. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna go ahead and just read it like that. And I think that this is gonna have to be in 2 parts because I'm literally just sitting here and it's already like 7 minutes in and I have not even laid these cards out yet. And speaking of 7, the 7 of Cups is here, and the 7 of Cups is kind of like emotional attachments or searching for something, trying to seeking emotional balance, but not being satisfied with the ways that you've come up with finding, ways to heal. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. It's like you might feel like you're wasting your time, or you might actually be wasting your time relying on something for satisfaction that it's actually not bringing you. You're kind of like consuming something and using something, right? And you're kind of like spread thin, right? You have your mind on the wrong things, right? You have your mind focused on the wrong things, yeah? And you have emotional attachments to some things, and it's kind of like you can't control how, life challenges you with change. Because this is fixed. This is Scorpio. And it's Venus being in a sign ruled by Mars and Pluto. So it's discomfort it's discomfort that your relationships were bringing you. And it's like discomfort that is like having to be contained, and you may just be in the past, because this has to do with the past, right? Because something's behind you and you're getting over the hump of it. There was some things that you weren't willing to admit to yourself, in the past, or some things that you were afraid to admit to yourself about a relationship, or about, or maybe some of you just kind of like waited for something to like change that never did. You see what I mean? Because it's a 7, so it's related to change, the Chariot card. But then it's a 7, so it's related to you have to change something in order to change. When it's time to change, you got to rearrange, think who you are to what you want to be, or whatever. The Brady Bunch, right? You guys remember that? Right? So it's like the Brady Bunch. You know what I mean? It's not perfect. Relationships aren't perfect. And that's what the 7 of Cups, Venus, and Scorpio teaches us, right? Because it's like, it's the second house to Libra, which Venus rules. And the second house is talking about what you are conscious of that you ignored before, or that you might still be ignoring, or that you were willing to ignore at one point or another. And we got to change that. You know what I mean? So it's talking about a habit that needs to be changed from that relationship, that type of thing. But it's also Venus being in the 7th house from where she originates, which is Taurus, okay? So it's talking about things that just kind of like are out of habit, right? Things that are out of habit, out of a fear or out of lack or out of low vibrational energy. It could be out of pity. It could be out of, just shame, guilt, regret, that type of thing. So this is why you may have stayed attached to it because of that reasoning, remorse, whatever it was, okay? Or it's just like, what else is there? And it's like, no, that's not it. Now, what time is it? I'm gonna make this kind of like a 30-minute thing, but I'm gonna have to like split it up in 2 parts because I got these cards here and I haven't even really like done anything. Damn, 1 card, well 2. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and flip over the card here that's in the center, which is a focus energy. Right, change. Ace of Swords. Ace of Swords is like not fearing change too, and being willing to admit when change is needed or desired, being willing to admit to yourself when you need change, right? When you want change, okay? And being able to accept change too. Because the Ace of Swords is related to Mercury, right? Which is acceptance, what you are willing to acknowledge, right? You have to acknowledge change when change has presented itself and it is obvious. The Ace of Swords here. So the sword is talking about cutting and releasing attachments that you have to things, right? Psychologically too. You know what I mean? Because it's like you train your mind, right? What's the challenge? Your mind, 3 of Wands, and that's on the fleece being white as snow. That was a Mary Had a Lamb reference. Anyway, this is Aries energy, so this is like bam, new experiences here with this 3. This is like being interested in change because it's a 3, right? And being bored with things too. You need that pass you need that pass. And you also need to give yourself a pass, or maybe give the situation or the circumstance a pass, because it's something that was karmic that needed to happen. And for beginnings, there have to be endings sometimes, depending on what it is. And this is like kind of like phases, right? Evolving phases, evolutionary, very personality changes or perspective, new perspectives, new interests, right? That type of thing. And this is Aries and it's a 3, so it's talking about like, you don't have to feel like you're turning your back on something just because you're opening yourself up to something new, right? What is it? What is it that you just can't take? Right? But the 3 of Wands is being like, you know what? Yeah, I can do something else, right? options. You have options of what you can do, okay? And the Ace of Swords is here, right? So this Seven of Cups is actually like stuff being in the past, and I feel like it's like people watching and having like some kind of like emotional reaction to what they're seeing that they like, because it's Venus, and Venus is beautiful. Scorpio could be talking about some things that they're like, oh, with, you know what I mean? So it's like whatever, you know. Ace of Swords, Three of Wands. And then in the recent past, we have the Page of Pentacles. So there have been some new things that have been established, right? Some new etchings, okay, with this Page of Pentacles. And then the Page of Pentacles is double Earth, right? It's Earth, and then it's related to Saturn as well, right? So that's why you're giving double Earth energy. So in the past, something actually lived up to its karmic expectation, or its karmic resolution, or its karmic conclusion, you know? And it's something that actually solidifies, symbolizes, right? So there's a symbolic reckoning, growing up, maturing, right? A phase change, okay? Literally, bam, scene change. Things look different. Everything is different here. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. That's what the Page of Pentacles is talking about. A new experience where everything kind of like changes, but you're like ready for that change, right? It's like when somebody goes off to like boarding school and they're like, oh my God, this is like where I am now, and I'm following the rules. And not necessarily following the rules, but it actually is your own rules, because it's a page, so it's independent. And Saturn is a very independent sign, right? So it's kind of like self-reckoning here, okay? And being able to accept the fact that you're going to be something more than you were before this moment. That's why you have the Ace of Swords here and the Three of Wands. And now we're growing and we're coming out and we're evolving out of that. So there's growth happening. Okay? The Wheel of Fortune is here, so this is good. This is Jupiter, right? This is growth, this is expansion, and this is actually being able to keep your own center and your sense of purpose and your sense of self when things are getting crazy and going insane, and, you know, being able to acknowledge that and taking a deep breath and exhaling, you know what I mean? So this could be some breath exercises for some of you. This is kind of like some type of meditation for some of you, because Jupiter is also the esoteric ruler of Aquarius, and that's the season that we're in. Ooh, and Jupiter is actually in Aquarius right now, so we're using that. And Saturn being there. So there is a way that we can actually use this for our individual self. Humanity is going through what it's going through. Society is going through what it's going through. Civility is going through what it's going through. Politics, whatever it is. But it still is about you having your experience and what it means to you and the perspective that you are gaining from that. You know what I mean? And you have the ability to take yourself out of certain things, right? Bam, jump off when you need to. And I don't mean that in a combative way. In a creative way. Damn. So this is you. This is also, because this is a 3. And that's related to that third ray energy, which Cancer is under that third ray, right, of consciousness, right? And here we go. Related to the Empress, right, Mother. There we go. Water energy too. Definitely coming from the High Priestess. So this is karmic, right? And realizing that nothing is etched in stone. Okay? Nothing is etched in stone. So here we go with this. And this is your feelings changing about something too, right? And this is an environment changing for you. Like I said, scene change. Right? But it's Saturn and Libra. The song is saying it's a trap. So there's a relationship here that could be just like, kind of like, you know, that you just need to be wary of. Not wary of, aware. You need to be wary of anything, okay? Because ain't nothing happening. Okay? You're good. With the Wheel of Fortune being here, and you're just good because you have clarity, right? And this is kind of like a growth experience for you. You're maturing relationally. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. But this 3 is talking about growth that isn't easy. You know? Character growth. You know? challenges, personality challenges, interpersonal relationships that you have with yourself, about the relationships that you have with other people. Okay, and this is also just like someone, like there being an outside influence, you know, in a relationship or an environment is creating a distraction more than a reality for you right now, right? More than the reality that you would like to be in, you know what I mean? And you know you're uncomfortable with that. Some of you, right? And this could be a relationship, okay? And you're like, okay, let me pull out of it. That's all. And also the Three of Swords in the Moon position for me is like, you know, hidden meanings in karmic endings from relationships, or hidden things that like don't actually turn up until like the end, right? That you learn about yourself and about how you come out of relationships that were challenging in certain ways. I'm gonna leave it at that. King of Cups, okay? Intimate relationships here. And then this is 1/3 Libra, and we just came from the Saturn being in Libra here. Bam, here we go. King of Cups. This is intimate relationships, yeah. But it is also it's the emotional maturity too, right? So that's what we're dealing with. Coming from that, we got that emotional maturity. So it is a progression. It's great because it's the Three of Swords, which is kind of like, you know, it's just a... It's a great card because it's Saturn, which is a sacred planet, I believe. And then it's Libra, which is a cardinal sign, right? There's a lot of meaning here. You'll gain perspective with this as you get older. And the King of Cups is like, yes, I am older and I do have perspective. I have intellectual, emotional perspective, right? And I also have time, that I've been given time to relate or to like formulate a new perspective because I'm not in the situation anymore. Because Libra's very much I'm in the moment, right? And that's where we're coming from. Let's go into, right, okay, Mars, right? Mars position, Sun in Gemini. You know, this is definitely being able to disconnect from something that actually, where else did you actually see it going? Where else did you think that it would develop into that would actually outlive any expectations that you already had for it? You know what I mean? So it's time for a change of perspective here, definitely, which is being reiterated with the Ace of Swords here and the Three of Wands crossing it. So it's like an opportunity for change to happen for you. And it's saying in time-wise too, it's time for that. You know, season change, right? Aries season. Things will feel much lighter, I guess. Things kind of feel lighter now, I guess, because it's Aquarius season, but like, you know, the spring is going to be very fresh, I feel. And we're going to be looking at time. We're thinking about time and how we've grown and how we can put certain things behind us because we know those things that happened weren't, you know, the highlight of our life. They were monumental points, but they weren't things that need to be highlighted beyond, right? The expectation. You know, it's like you got all the information that you needed out of it, right? You learned everything that you've gotten. You've gotten all the information, right? You've investigated all of that. Some of you. And some people have been like kind of like nosy too. Because this is like people being nosy and wanting to find out stuff, right? Or there could be something that, a lot of busyness that could have been going on in some of you guys' neighborhoods. And sometimes, you know, I feel like that's more like suburbs and stuff, like, you know, because in the city it's not really, it's too busy to be like looking at shit. But this is also children too, growing up, and it's kind of like allowing your infancy or infantile situations, right? It's like just you've outgrown certain situations. That's what this card is telling me. The Hierophant, yeah, you have. So it's like challenging to like admit to yourself that it's time to identify with a new sensibility, a new self. You are conscious of the ways that you are being told, spiritually, on a soulful level. When you communicate with your higher source, it's literally teaching you and telling you and forcing you in a way, because it's related to Taurus and the 5th house of Leo, to change, right? And to reimagine your identity, okay? And these are also your attachments, right? What you are and are not willing to let go of, what you are and are not willing to believe, what you are willing to ignore because you would rather believe something else, right? And what you won't admit to yourself, because if you admit that to yourself, that means that you might be wrong and they might be right, or vice versa, and you don't want that harsh truth. But that's what the Hierophant is, and it is a battle between your higher nature and your lower nature, It is. But that's in the Venus position. So this is kind of like a really great thing, because the Hierophant is Taurus. And Taurus is ruled by Venus. And the moon is connected to this too, because the moon was just in the 5th house and the moon is here, right? Being that the moon is exalted in Taurus. So it's like some healthy changes. Change is good. It inspires us to grow and to outgrow old versions of ourselves. Here we go. Yes, it's challenging, but it's great because you're learning more about yourself, and you're moving forward with confidence, right? The World, absolutely. Right here. Saturn, being proud of the lessons that you've learned, because you wouldn't be who you are today without those lessons, or without those karmic relationships, without those jobs, without, the places that you've lived, any of that. You know what I mean? See it as a huge ornamentation, right, of mastery. I was going to try to make that rhyme, but it wasn't going to come out right. Right? And it is like identifying with a certain hierarchical change that happens interpersonally. So it's almost like you can see yourself in those different stages, and that is a hierarchy of yourself, because the World card is self-mastery, so you are that master, but there was a hierarchical change that had to go on and had to happen, descending to ascending and all of that, and realizing for it to be real, for you to come to that place, right? Transmutation. Here we go, leaving some things behind that no longer serve you, right? Stop holding on to things that don't satisfy you in new ways, right? And stop letting something control you, you know what I mean? Just because you're afraid of not having it be there to rely on, okay? Thank you. That's going to be the Daily Dose Part 1 and Part 2 for today, the last day of January. Like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, ProvidenceTarot, NYC Kendrick. Okay, so I feel like I want to give you something just to like tag on to that. So now I'm just going to use an oracle card to kind of like give you a message, and you're going to understand how that message kind of like resonates with you. Maybe I'll do 3 stacks and I'll pull 3 messages just to kind of like give the video a little bit of body and substance and not just one card. So here we go. What is this? This is the Keepers of the Light Oracle deck by Kyle Gray in the UK. Okay, so that's a bonus. Okay. Odin. You better listen to me. Psychic insight. I better listen to me. Your third eye is open. See truth for what it is. Follow your intuition. That's what I told you. With that 3 of Swords for sure. Okay, here we go. Let's look. So pick 1, 2, or 3. All right. So when you got that number in your head, I'm going to tell you which one I'm choosing before I start to read it so that you know if it's the one that you chose or not. Hold on. Okay. So 1, 2, or 3, right? You got it. I'm going to go ahead and go with 2 first. So 2s, this is your message. Devotion. Krishna. Trust your spiritual guidance. Your commitment has been recognized. You are loved unconditionally. Okay, so some of you could be worried of whether or not, like, you know, you're seen as being like distracted at work or something like that, or like you're paying attention or something like that, or you might be questioning whether or not you've made the right choice, you know? So you're like, am I devoted to this decision? Can I make this commitment? Is this something that I can live with myself for choosing, you know, to think or do or be or whatever? And it almost is kind of feeling like your work that you have put into something too for some of you, and this is the biggest thing. Has it been recognized? Is it being seen? Is the way that you have devoted yourself to something unconditionally shown? And is it being recognized? But it's like, do you need the recognition, or do you know yourself what you've put into it? And that really is what is important. And if you can commit to that, then you've got it. There's your recognition. Right? If you can commit to the job that you've done, and if you can truly own the work that you've been doing, then you've done your job. If you've done your best, you've done your job, you know? Right? And it's not about competition or someone thinking that they could do what you're doing, that they're not doing better than you. That's funny. If you want something done, you got to do it yourself. He really said, just take me by the hand, I'll make them understand. But it's like, it's almost like you can't teach anybody the way that you've done what you do. And here we go with number ones. Number ones. You got Lord Ganesh. That's infinite abundance, right? So let me read what this card says. Obstacles are being removed. Spiritual support and connections are increasing. Okay, so you're feeling change, right? And you're it's almost like, you know, when when you smell cookies baking, but you don't know like where it's coming from. Like that type of thing. You're like, wait a minute. Okay, so it's almost like you can smell the sweetness of change happening, right? Through your obstacles being removed, or you're just your mood is lightening up, right? So you need to lighten up. Number one's definitely being number one. You know, spiritual support and connections are increasing, right? So you're kind of finding that freshness again out of something, the possibility again. You are feeling newly inspired too with Lord Ganesh and the infinite abundance, right? It's possibilities, definitely, right? But you have to make a way for possibility through yourself, who is the vessel of creativity and possibility. You are infinitely abundant, right? So you have to devote yourself towards that, you know, promoting your infinite abundance, right? Moving on, moving forward, letting go, not, you know, having to be in control of things all the time, especially when it's life-changing. Number threes. Intervention and purpose. Okay, so there's an intervention or there's a disruption or there's something that is happening that you may not understand, but the divine director has a purpose, right? Ew, look at me. The hair's a little different. It's textured, you can't see it right now. I put this hat on. For the eye of Providence, of course. Let's see what it says. Divine intervention is occurring. Know that you are being guided. Happiness is your purpose. Okay, so it's kind of like, you know when people feel like the universe is working against them, or like something is working against them, or things just aren't working in their favor, or something like that. You really have to be able to see past the distractions that are really just mere illusions, right? Because everything is, too. Even people and how they affect you. You know what I mean? Hello? It is, right? Sometimes you get really hot. You know, you get pissed off by certain people sometimes. But then, you know, that kind of like is an illusion. You know, if you're just getting pissed off at the idea of how someone made you react or respond, or it was an impulse that happened from you internally and it wasn't because of something physical, then it's like, are you strong enough? You know, it really is that though. It's Aquarius season. We got game, right? So do you really have game, right? Or do you get like, do you get kind of like riled up by anything? You know what I mean? By anything. It's like sometimes people are like, respect. And it's kind of like, respect yourself too, right? And knowing when it's not even worth your time or your energy, right? Or that there's disruption of your throat chakra, because it's like when you start saying things that are like awful and nasty and demeaning and crazy for somebody so that you can get an emotional response out of them, or so that you can think that you have made them feel some kind of way that you actually really don't know if you have, then what's the point? It's like you messed up your energy. It's all clogged. Your throat chakra, you didn't express that stuff. It's literally there. Ooh, you know? So, Melchizedek, higher learning. You have learned from experience. More inner study is now required for further progress. Higher learning. Remember that movie from the 90s? If you guys haven't seen Higher Learning, wow. I mean, if y'all want to know about Black Lives Matter. I mean, it's kind of like one of the precursors to that type of, well, I don't even know that we haven't seen like a movie like that recently. You know, it was on a black campus, you know, majority black campus, I believe. And it was like Tyra Banks is in it. Ice Cube is in it. Like, there's probably other people in it. Is Chris Tucker in that movie? I'm not really sure. Am I dating myself? I kind of am right now. Mother Mary, love and peace. Let go of the need to be right. Wow. Right. Okay. Okay, cool. 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 That's cool. 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 We're good. We're good. It's fine. Yeah. I don't want to argue with you. And even if, like, I don't want to argue with you, don't argue with me for not wanting to argue with you. That's fine. I'm good. That was the moment, and I didn't know it was going to be them, but you just got to see the back. But I was just kind of like doing a little bit acting there. You know, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. And I turned around and I was like, you know what? There is something to see back there. Right? And there is something to see on the other side of this situation, too. Something really beautiful, right? Let's look. Let's look. Let's look. Let's see what's on the other side. Right. Let go of the need to be right. Choose peace. You know? It's like mother healing is possible at any time. So it's like you can show compassion to yourself or to a situation at any time. You have to always understand that other people are learning and they may not be as strong as you desire them to be, or as strong as you expect them to be, or as strong as you may want them to be for your own your own insecure. You know what I mean? So it's like, come on. So don't project your emotions onto someone because they didn't meet the expectations that you had for them, and not like the expectations that like you had for them because, like, you know, you're married and you have kids and all this stuff. It's kind of like wanting someone to do something and then, like, you know, them not being able, not doing it, not being able to do it. Let go of the need to be right. You know what I mean? What's the lesson for you though? Right? What's the lesson for you? And not like, let's say that right and wrong didn't exist. So what are we fighting for? It's the battery went out and I knew that was gonna happen. Right? Bam, lights out. What are we fighting for? Okay. Wow. Ascension, Serapis B. Okay? Move into your true self. Rise above the darkness. The light is here. I can't with how these readings go. With the light going out in the next card talking about rise above the darkness, the light is here, okay? That's your message. That's what you got. I live and I love. Okay, let's see. I think we have all of them. Right? Cool, cool, cool. That was so crazy. I'll talk to you guys later. Like I said before, like, share, and subscribe. Comment on the video. If you want to donate to the channel, the information is in the description box below. If you're watching on YouTube, that is. I guess I could put it in the information box, in the description box on IG. I just never thought about doing that. I was so accustomed to doing it on YouTube, but, you know, that's what the Hierophant is talking about. Oh, wait, being aware and conscious of, like, where change can happen that's actually beneficial for you that you weren't aware of before. Okay. And also, like, Uranus is there, too, in Taurus right now with Mars, and that's talking about changing some things up, right? Even some of the things that you don't seem easy and that aren't easy. It's easy to change, like, up decorations and stuff. You like that. But is it easy to change up, you know, the established restrictions that have been placed upon you from the ways that you have been relating to life and the lessons that you have learned from it and are learning, you know? Because it's not easy. It's not like You know, is everybody a straight A student in life? I don't think so. So sometimes you have to deal with the fact that you maybe didn't pass certain tests, or maybe certain tests you didn't pass with flying colors, but you got through them. You know, you passed. You know what I mean? So it's like, do you really want to go back in time? Do you really want to go back and do that grade again? Like, if you had the chance to, if you passed it, do you want to do it again to get a higher grade? No, it's over. You know what I mean? Anyway, let me go, because this day is over. So, bye. I will see you all later. I am going to read. And I'm Shanti. I feel like I don't even know, like, what day it is. I gotta cleanse my energy now. Bye. Bye, 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 bye. Bye, bye.